And so this is not a novel idea that, immigrants are bad for the country. So I'm interested in why you think that all of a sudden we need to change the way the United States works.
Well, first of all, immigration has gone in great influxes. We basically turned off all immigration in the 1940s and 50s. We had like net zero immigration for almost 15 years. Most people don't even know that. So we had Ellis Island in the early 1900s, and then we turned on the guzzle of immigration. But let's be honest, for 40 years, we have tried this mass immigration project for the last 40 years. Has it worked? Are we a more connected country? Have middle-class wages kept up? Look at the material data. Has immigration enriched the well-being of the United States of America, especially the last 5 or 6 years? I would say, of course not, actually. We're more divided, we're more factious, and we see this in almost every European country as well. When you import a bunch of people that don't speak your language, that are from the third world, all of a sudden you have mass destabilization happening in your country. It's not a matter of being xenophobic. Instead, it's a matter of being patriotic to your own country and your own citizens. It's not about hating the foreigner, it's about loving the citizen. And your obligation is always to citizens first, not foreigners.
What's up, amazing people of YouTube? Hope you guys are feeling good. I'm your host, Elario. Today I'm back with another video and check out with you guys. This is called The Truth About Immigration the Left Doesn't Want to Hear. You know the drill, guys. We talk less and react more. Let's check out this truth story.
I think that the anti-immigration rhetoric you have is not new. I think that you try to paint a picture of it being this current phenomenon that we're facing, but there's been rhetoric from your side for a long time, throughout the entirety of history. I mean, if we look at the immigration policies in the U.S., even though Chinese immigrants built the entire Western Railroad, there was still the Chinese Exclusion Act because they were providing insane value to the United States, but we still had these exclusion acts because of xenophobic attitudes. And so this is not a novel idea that, immigrants are bad for the country. So I'm interested in why you think that all of a sudden we need to change the way the United States works.
Well, first of all, immigration has gone in great influxes. We basically turned off all immigration in the 1940s and 50s. We had like net zero immigration for almost 15 years. Most people don't even know that. So we had Ellis Island in the early 1900s, and then we turned on the guzzle of immigration. But let's be honest, for 40 years, we have tried this mass immigration project for the last 40 years. Has it worked? Are we a more connected country? Have middle-class wages kept up? Look at the material data. Has immigration enriched the well-being of the United States of America, especially the last 5 or 6 years? I would say, of course not, actually. We're more divided, we're more factious, and we see this in almost every European country as well. When you import a bunch of people that don't speak your language, that are from the third world, all of a sudden you have mass destabilization happening in your country. It's not a matter of being xenophobic. Instead, it's a matter of being patriotic to your own country and your own citizens. It's not about hating the foreigner, it's about loving the citizen. And your obligation is always to citizens first, not foreigners.
So you don't think that the MAGA movement has led to xenophobic attitudes at all?
I don't even know how to answer that. I mean, like...
Why not?
Well, because you have to first define what you mean by xenophobic attitudes.
I mean, just like you said, I mean, we're living in a divided world. You don't think that comes from people being anti-immigration?
No, I think it's the opposite. I think when you allow a bunch of people that aren't native-born Americans too quickly, with no checks, no background, no idea who they are, and flood them into your towns, definitionally, diversity is not a strength when it comes to local community ties.
If you don't use it, I don't know that you're committed to finding its strength.
Hold on, no, explain this to me. This is a good question.
Yeah.
What country has ever grown stronger the more divided it's been?
None, but I'm not saying
Yeah,
that
that's
we
the
have
point.
to get more divided.
No, but diversity definitionally will divide you. Unity unifies you. You notice they never say unity is our strength, they say diversity is our strength. In fact, just so we are clear, there is nothing racist or xenophobic to say that you want your kids to be around people that speak English. There's nothing racist to say that. It actually means that you want to be able to communicate with your neighbor. There's nothing racist and xenophobic to say, for example, we don't want to import people from a far-off distant land that don't share Western values, that don't treat women the same, that don't have the same respect for freedom of speech. So what we see is the unraveling of the United States of America, because a country is again, just like undoubtedly it is the people that inhabit it. So you have to be very careful what people you allow into your country.
Sure, but I think that what you're talking about, this like mass shift in American culture, is like not happening. I think you're fear-mongering, and also I think that the United States forever has been a mix of culture. I don't really know like where you can point to a time in the U.S. history that hasn't included immigrants in its culture.
Again, from the 20s to the 1920s and 1960s, we had very little immigration in this country, nearly 40 years. In fact, that is what largely led to us becoming a world superpower in the 1950s. Is we
had the Bracero program back then, where we brought in tons of laborers from Mexico to the United States to work in agricultural, and that's how we fed the United States. So I really
again,
don't think that you can say that.
It was very limited in scope versus what we see today. But again, I will ask a more moral question. Does a politician have first loyalty to its own citizens or to another country's citizens?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought this, because I wanted to circle back to my original question about the United States creating instability in the rest of the world. I do think that every single politician, like let's say I'm the Prime Minister of South Africa, you know,
It's just an incredibly anti-white country. Like, oh my goodness.
Okay, anyway.
Dangerously anti-white.
Okay, anyway.
Do you know about that, by the way? You should.
Apartheid, yes.
Oh, no. It's like they're killing white people in the streets in South Africa. They're stealing farmland. I mean, if you don't know about that, that shows how the media is lying to all of you. It is literally a mini white genocide happening in South Africa right now.
But I don't think that we should...
No, it's fine. You brought up South Africa, not me, but yes.
That was just an example. Anyway, let's stay on topic. So let's say I'm the Prime Minister of a country. I do agree with you that my first job is that country, for sure. That's who I'm leading. But considering the United States has created mass violence, instability, and poverty around the world, you don't think that we have some sort of obligation to the people who then have to flee from that?
No.
Why not?
Wait, hold on. Well, why not? Define your terms. Where have we created mass stability? I'll grant you Iraq. That was a disaster. Where else?
In all of Latin America, in different countries in Africa, places that, like the Philippines that we colonized, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm always so interested in this, as if it's like, you can never blame those countries for not having their act together. It's somehow America's fault. Like, oh, it's America's fault that Nicaragua can't get its act together. It's America's fault, even though we welcome Puerto Rico to become U.S. citizens, like we've colonized them. So here's the paradox.
You don't think that Puerto Rico was colonized?
No. I'm saying no. So if we don't help Puerto Rico, we're evil. When they become a territory, we colonize them, and we haven't done enough. It's like, which one is it exactly?
So the Puerto Rico was taken from the Spanish as a colony and used as a sugar farm for years, where the workers were paid less than $1 per day to create sugar for the United States. And it's not really about statehood or independence. It's about letting Puerto Rico decide that for themselves. And anyway, this isn't about Puerto Rico.
No, it's fine, but and more broadly, and I'll get to the couple final questions here. I can sense that your problem is that like America's super successful and these other countries aren't. And foundationally, it's rooted in envy, bitterness, and resentment, because we are the world's superpower. It's not because we've held anybody back. It's because we've had incredible people, really good ideas.
You don't think the U.S. has intervened in a negative way in other countries?
At times, yes. At times, we've intervened very favorably. Can you at least acknowledge at times that...
Sure, there has been aid, but there's also been terrible
No,
coups.
not just aid. South Korea exists because of American involvement. Kuwait exists because of American involvement.
But it's not...
So...
But to look at American accountability, you have to look at the whole of that accountability. And to say that certain countries are less developed purely on their own fault is to ignore history.
So that's where we disagree. Okay. Countries have to take responsibility for their own future, which again, this is one of the reasons why so many people hate Israel. Every other country around there is like a third world country, and Israel is super successful and super agenic, and they're able to be like one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. You gotta wonder, what is it that they're doing? Oh, it's the Jews because they're stealing all this money. No, actually they like work super hard, and they don't believe in Islam, and they and like, wow. And the one place
Have you ever been to those countries?
Yeah, actually, I have been to Israel, and I've been to the Palestinian Authority. I've been to the West Bank. I've actually visited it. Even if I hadn't, that doesn't mean what I'm saying is wrong, just for the record. By the way, I encourage you to try to go to Lebanon or Syria. Not exactly the Four Seasons, right? So, not great.
And you don't think that U.S. intervention has anything to do with that?
Partially, but again, to blame the evil U.S. intervention for every single problem is at its core intellectually sloppy.
I don't think so, because the United States has 2 times the military of the rest of the world. It has been in our DNA to intervene in a military way in other countries. So to say, I mean, I know you believe in.
So I want to try to square this all together. I got to get another question, just to make sure I'm clear. So you're mad at America for getting involved in other people's countries, right? So America's bad for that. But then you want everyone to come to America. I thought America's bad.
I'm saying that the United States needs to be held accountable. You can't meddle in
So we're
other
held accountable by
countries.
inviting the entire world here?
If you are going to mess up that country, you have to do something about
Oh,
it.
do something. Invite them here.
Maybe if you're the reason that they have to leave. No?
All right, then that at its core, I'm glad you articulated it, is neoconservatism, which is invade the world, invite the world. Which is that you don't support the invasion part of it, but somehow we have to invite the world as some sort of like mass penance.
But that's like you invade and then say, oh,
Well, no, I
now
don't support the invasions. I think you are overly ascribing fault to the United States of America, when in reality
think so.
it's these own broken countries that cannot get their own act together. A great example is this, and I'll close with this. El Salvador is actually safer than America. It has billions of dollars flowing into El Salvador. Why? Because they elected Bukele, who decided to go after MS-13 and clean up the streets of El Salvador. Which, again, it was because they decided to do good things with massive action. Countries can be wealthy. Singapore is wealthy. You could be a very wealthy country if you embrace Western market ideas, private property with low crime, and it's not always...
I mean, in the case of El Salvador, the United States was the reason that the country broke down into gang warfare, and now if you look at the way they were able to turn around, they had to declare a state of emergency just to be able to turn things around.
It's just like, this is where we're different, and then I'll close, then we have to get going. I look at America as a force for good. You look at everything wrong and you say it must be America.
No, sir, I'm looking at bad things that they have done and calling for accountability.
Okay, like
I mean, maybe we disagree, I don't know.
I guess I think we're a wonderful country, and I think if a country is poor, they're poor by choice, and they have to be able to get their act together, make better decisions, and stop acting like victims all the time. Thank you very much.
Okay. See, throughout this whole interview, the part that got me was where she said it's in their DNA to help people. It is part of these people that view the aid that America gives to other countries or other nations as their right. They don't know that it's something that they choose to do. And her saying that America is the reason why everything is so wrong, and since they destroyed other people's homes, then they should open their borders. Like, I really don't understand how America is the cause of everybody's problems. Of course, history was a lot. Everybody did one rowdy thing or the other in history. There is no great country, there's no great man, there's no great nation without certain flaws in its history book. That is just the truth. And if you're going to blame this particular country for every bad thing that went down in history, then that's on you. But they don't have to invite anyone over because they are trying to make amends. I believe amends were made back then, right? And as Charlie said, there were times in history when they had no immigrants in their country. That even in the 1950s, that led to them being a world power. And honestly, I really don't understand her argument. As Charlie said, you say the country is bad for invading other people, and you say it is good for people to come in. Nah. If you're gonna fight for something, just pick a side. Right? America is bad, fine, but you still want people to come in. It's wrong. The notion isn't clear. You're not pushing forth something that makes sense. Secondly, I don't know. Charlie said diversity isn't a strength, and she said only if you don't use it. I've never seen anywhere in the world where a country goes stronger when it's divided. We all know, or we can all see, two very different examples of this particular diversity thing. North and South Korea weren't always divided. Russia and Ukraine weren't always divided. But now a border wall separates them two. And you can see that there are ongoing wars in Ukraine and Russia now. North and South Korea are having their own trials on that end. And even in countries where you see that there are different tribes, different nationalities, different races, different, even take them as an example, different races, you can see how they struggle on a daily. It's the issue of their race is always at the forefront of the discussion. Imagine if they were now entirely divided. How does that give strength? Even I don't know if you don't remember the particular notion, united we stand, divided we fall, that we all heard as kids while growing up. Diversity will not help anybody. Being divided will not allow you conquer things or people that you are meant to have conquered. It won't let you cross milestones that you are meant to have crossed. That is just the truth. So honestly, I don't really know why this happens to be at the forefront of their mind. But well, what can I say? Guys, please drop your 2 cents on this in the comment section, and please do leave a thumbs up for us at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe.